Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator weather forecast. Today I'll be covering the weather for April 20th of 2023. First off, there is a large slight risk along the frontal boundary for the cold front that I've been covering for the past few days. This frontal boundary is a slight risk down from eastern Texas in southeastern Texas and eastern Texas and eastern Louisiana all the way up to southern Wisconsin, including the Chicago area, densely populated. Um, a lot of what we're gonna see in this slight risk area is going to be damaging straight line winds or damaging isolated winds, whether or not the storms choose to organize into one big line all the way down. But so far, it's been more isolated than organized. Um, Another possibility is large to very large hail with these storms and tornadoes, especially in the Illinois area. Is what we're seeing right here. The low pressure system is right around here, and a lot of the tornadoes are going to be down here. But there's still still a high chance for tornadoes all the way down through here, the entire way through the slight risk, and the probability for tornadoes will probably continue as the front moves east, but it probably won't be as severe as what we're seeing today. Um, but if a lot of tornadoes start spawning up and through here, which there will probably be multiple tornado warnings today all along this frontal boundary. If these tornadoes move east, it could go into a densely populated area of Chicago and cause major damage and loss of life because Chicago is densely populated, especially when these storms get too far to the east. There is the possibility for Chicago to possibly experience a little bit. If it can become a really bad situation if a tornado, isolated tornado or embedded tornado, moves east and goes into the densely heavily populated area of Chicago. It's gonna get really bad if that happens, which hopefully doesn't happen, but there might be the possibility that it does. But there's going to be tornadoes. There's a possibility for tornadoes all along this frontal boundary, through the slight risk down through Arkansas, eastern Texas, and Illinois, continuing east to the rest of the eastern United States. But it probably won't be as severe as what we're seeing today. If we look at pivotal weather, you can see that for today there are potentially isolated or potentially embedded supercells that are forming along this line here. It might be better if I go to high res. Yeah, for now, a lot of them are going to be mostly isolated, and then they're going to organize into one big system by Friday and move east along past the Mississippi River and east to the rest of the United States and continue eastward, strengthening again as after it passes the Appalachian Mountains, and continuing on to the rest of the eastern United States. But for right now, today, there's the potential for possibly isolated tornadoes. But then also in Minnesota, with the winter storm that I've been talking about for the past few days, and the lots of snow, this cold front is still expected to drop temperatures really low across most of the northern and northeastern United States. Right now, there should be a lot of snowfall in the Minnesota and North Dakota area and possibly South Dakota area, on the back end of the low pressure system, that is expected to continue eastward and maybe go into Wisconsin as the low pressure system continues east. But for right now, there's a lot of snowfall in Minnesota and North Dakota. Most likely, there's a lot of snowfall, which there probably is. Um, but again, all hazards possible. Damaging straight line, not straight line, damaging isolated winds, damaging or not isolated hail, and the possibility for isolated tornadoes all along this frontal boundary. If we get into specifics, you see that there is a little bit of there is a intense dry line, not as intense as the dry line that we saw yesterday with the storms down through Kansas and Oklahoma, but there is a really intense dry line along the frontal boundary on the back half of it, fueling a lot of the storms that are taking place currently. But then if we also go to if we go to the instability in the atmosphere, this always takes me a second to get to. Uh, if we go to the instability in the atmosphere, there is a large unstable mass of air going like along the frontal boundary through Arkansas, Illinois, and a really unstable air in eastern Texas and southern Texas. This is where we're going to see again a lot of the isolated hail, isolated tornadoes, and isolated damaging winds. And again, the hail has the potential to be large to very large in some systems, some storms, but there is a large potential for hail with these storms as they continue east. And again, as I said earlier, it's most likely not to the tornado threat as it continues east. It's most likely not going to be as intense as what we're seeing today. But there still is a possibility because a lot of the air is not as unstable as what we're seeing today in Arkansas and Illinois. It's definitely not as unstable. And actually, if I would kind of want to look again at the dry line. I'm not sure if it would be better to use either a relative humidity or dew point. Either way, there's a strong dry line that has developed along the frontal boundary. But if it is dew point that I want to be using, you can see that there is a really strong dry line behind the frontal boundary down through Arkansas, eastern Texas, and Illinois along the frontal boundary. It continues east, but it won't be as severe as it goes off to the east, but it still has the potential to bring hail, damaging wind, and the possibility for an embedded tornado because these storms are most likely going to organize into one big line by Friday and continue eastward across the United States that way. So watch out for that. And as it passes the Appalachian Mountains, you can see that the dry line becomes a lot more intense again because they don't have mountains in the way to break it up. But you still see that the dry line is very intense down through Arkansas, Illinois, and Texas. So again, damaging winds, tornadoes, and large to very large hail is possible with these storms down through Illinois and Arkansas. So if you live along the frontal boundary down through Illinois, Arkansas, and into eastern Texas, please watch for any National Weather Service alerts for tornado warnings or hail, and make sure you stay safe. Make sure you have your tornado safety plan in place, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow with another weather forecast.